I'm wearing the right shirt today, right? Okay. So, I come by Jim's place this morning to drop off some brake parts for the car in it over here. So he says, I gotta show you something. Take a look at this thing we got on the lift. And this is like a flashback to like, we've done this before. We had the one over at Chuck Yoder's place, the Mustang, was a flipper nightmare. We had the one over at Kiwi's, another flipper disaster.
This is a flipper disaster.
This is a flipper disaster.
Yeah.
So this is like the typical car with a beautiful paint job. It's like body guys buy these cars, right? And they throw all of their effort and time and energy and resources into making a car pretty.
Right. But they don't worry if they're going to kill somebody.
Oh, Jesus. This is a true death trap.
Yeah.
But let's look at some of the minor points first. Come to the back of the car. So the customer bought this car.
Yep.
They tried to get a wheel alignment on it.
Yes, twice.
Twice.
They tried twice, 2 different places, and they could not get it to line up. And I mean, so bad that when the car came here, I could not come out of my parking lot and turn in here, which I can do with my rollback wrecker. Okay, but I could. This car had no turning radius.
Okay.
And then we put it up in the air, and the wheels were just in. Each one was in every different direction of the other side. I mean, just completely
Nothing in the same plane.
Nothing even close. Not even close.
Not even close. So I'm looking under the car, and this is a 1938 Chevy.
37 Chevy.
37
Yep.
Chevy. And you see little things like, okay, so they put a later model rear end, and it was a 12 bolt.
Yep.
Okay, so they put a 12 bolt in it, but look, they mounted it on the stock 1938 Chevy leaf springs. These things are about 1.5 inches wide, right? And it's a symmetrical spring. Like I can't imagine this thing not like just hopping like crazy.
And it's got a 428 in it, so
it's got a 420 Pontiac motor.
Yeah, so there's plenty of power there to start breaking stuff.
And okay, and it's little things like the rubber fuel line just right 1 inch away from the exhaust. You know, they still left. I mean, the wood floors are some of it is wood, some of it is metal. It's a mixed match of wood and metal. Then, like, look at this exhaust here. What, Jim? What are you thinking other than to just make it more difficult to drop the starter out?
Well,
it's like they deliberately bent the pipe.
It does. It looks like it would be a physical impossibility to get the starter out of this car without taking the exhaust out.
Okay, and all of this stuff is kind of like, all right, they didn't know what they were doing, they didn't do it exactly right, and we're nitpicking.
Right.
But not when it comes to stuff like this.
When it comes to that, right.
Well, let's get to that. So they mounted a Mustang 2 front suspension in this thing. And what did they do over here?
They had about a 4-inch or 4.5-inch, 3/8 grade 5 bolts, no lock washers, no flat washers, and bolted it right here.
And there's nothing there's no tubing or anything in between. Nothing to handle the crush. So as you tighten this down,
you're just gonna crush it.
You're just crushing the frame rail.
Yep.
Okay, that's bad. That's
Yeah.
All right, that's amateur hour. And just like these cooler lines that are just okay, but all it is like simple stuff that you know what you buy a car like this and you say, well, I'll just put hard lines in it, and you know I'll tinker and everything else. But then we get to the part that just absolutely blew my mind.
Yeah.
Tell me how many gallons of Bud Light or Natty Ice it takes.
It's going to be Natty Ice, I'm sure, is what.
To make this make sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the suspension.
Natty Ice.
Here's the suspension that came out of this car. So the first thing we notice is here are those mounting points on the frame, and we've got holes that are oblong to line up. All right. Okay, that's that. But then look at this control arm. So evidently the subframe and the original frame in the truck don't correspond with each other. And you know what? Again, let's say, yeah, you have to make a couple of like modifications to make it work. Now you're really starting to reach, okay? But you're working on a budget, you're working tight, you're working on your house, and you gotta stretch things. So I see what they did here with this control arm. They lengthened this control arm approximately 1 inch. And you can see the other one. And I mean, it's an okay weld. It's an alright job. I would trust that.
Yeah.
You know, it's even reinforced. Okay, so we're not. Don't get the wrong idea. Now, we're not coming down on somebody because they lengthened the control arm. And like I said, they did a nice job here. This part blew my mind. This I cannot believe anybody would put out on the road. So obviously the subframe didn't sit square in the chassis, so they lengthened the tie rod on the rack, but they butt welded it together. This is the steering of the car. This is the most crucial part of the control of the car. This is the steering. They cut it, they butt welded it.
No sleeve.
No sleeve. They called it a day. This is the most dangerous thing I have ever seen attempted on a modified car. Street rod, street machine, street. Yeah. I've never seen anything quite like that.
Yeah.
The correct way to fix it, okay, so let's just say, again, you're working with a budget, and you use this control arm as an example. They did a nice job extending this control arm. Nothing wrong with that. But the only way you could justify doing this is by cutting it, sleeving it, welding it on both sides of the sleeve, and then rosette welding it on top of that. That would be an acceptable repair. This thing is, this is failure waiting to happen. This is a rut in the road, a pothole hit the wrong way. This, when you see these cars, you know, you'll always see, you go through Facebook, you see those groups, and whenever there's a show, you'll always see one of these cars upside down in a ditch, or run off the road.
This is the car.
Well, this is the car, and that's the thing. This is a true death trap.
And that's why when he came in and brought me the car, we put it up on the rack and looked at it, and I just condemned the front end. I said, "There's no." So we bought an entire Scott's hot rod shop front end made for a '37 Chevrolet. So it's going to be much better. But this is just.
I can't imagine what they were thinking. I can't.
Well, the 4 3/8 bolts that I told you about going through the frame. In addition to that, there was a plate welded right here with no gussets, welded to the frame. We've already cut it off, and one here. On this side, you've only got the one. Okay. That's it. There was nothing else holding this in the car. And I mean, like I said, they were 3/8 bolts with no washers on either side. Just a bolt, nut and a bolt. That's it.
I'm not known as a safety boy. Okay?
Nor am I.
All right. Let me ask you a question. My shop is 30 miles away.
Yeah.
Would you have driven this thing to my shop?
I took it, when it first came in, he complained about drivability. I took it up the road. Jerry's place is next door, European Motor Works. I turned around right there, and I said, I'm good. I understand what you're saying. And then when we put it up in the air, that's when we found all this stuff and said, no.
No pre-purchase inspection, no, he didn't bring a mechanic with him, he didn't. So this is classic.
It's a classic flipper.
It's a classic
That's
flipper.
what it is.
Classic
Make
flipper.
it shiny,
Exactly.
send it down the road.
Exactly.
But that is, you know, like you said, it's a death trap. That was an accident waiting to happen. And then however much money he spent on that car is all for naught, because it would have been in a tree or in a ditch or what have you.
Not talking about your labor now. Let's not talk about your labor. But in terms of parts, what is it costing in terms of parts?
About $3,800.
So about $4,000 on top of what he spent on the car, just on parts.
And then our labor.
I'm just saying, let's just say somebody bought a car like this themselves, and they were going to make these repairs themselves. They're going to drop another $4,000 just on front suspension parts to correct what was done over the.
And that doesn't even address the rest.
That doesn't address the rest of it.
Yeah,
and every place you look on that car is but again, see, I don't want to nitpick.
Yeah.
You know, because we all cut corners here and there. We all get by here and there. It's like, okay, well, this will fit. That'll go. But this is on a whole different level.
If there's one or two things on a car that I find that somebody got by on, okay, one or two, that's fine. Not 15. You know, it gets to a point where, you know, they'll sell anybody a welder. Apparently, anybody can go and buy a welder. You don't even have to know how to weld. They'll sell you one. But this puts all of us in a bad light.
Absolutely.
You know?
This could kill somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, forget it, you're the guy who's driving it that gets killed. You know, you want the ticket, you take the ride.
Yeah.
This is like, you get people in traffic around you. You know what I mean? This thing's going to go through school zones.
So ever since this car came in, and I go to a lot of shows and a lot of cruises and stuff like that, when I see something coming the other way, this is what I'm thinking about.
That's what you're thinking about.
You know, I'm driving my car to a show that something like this is going to break, go out of control and wreck my car.
Every time I stop by one of my friends' shops, there's always something like this. And I let most of it go because, like, well, you know, you can't do a video every time you turn around. You can't do a video on what's janky about a car, right? It's just not cool. No, that's a death trap. That is dangerous.
That's beyond janky.
By my standards. That's sketchy either by my standards.
Yes.
Jim Bennett's Hot Rod Garage.
Just Bennett's Hot Rod
Bennett's
Garage.
Hot Rod Garage on YouTube. Right. Go over there, give them a sub and a like and everything else. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.